Welcome to Belief Busters podcast, where we change the world one belief at a time. I'm your host, Reverend Cherie Taylor Jones, and I'm really glad that you could join us on the journey. Welcome to Belief Busters. Today we have Laura Perkes with us, and she is a PR graduate with over 16 years of industry experience. So PR really is her superpower. I like that, a woman with superpower. She says connection and communication is at the heart of everything she does, and it's these skills that she teaches to brands looking to grow to the next level. Laura's mission is to help business owners to thrive, and I've invited her to talk about what false beliefs we may have that stops us from thriving in business, and then how do we change those beliefs to push to the next level in business? Welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much. I am really excited to be talking with you and your listeners today.
Oh, I'm really glad, because one of the ethos about this podcast is that we have the capability of undoing some of those learned beliefs, those behaviors, and really kind of deconstructed them so that we can then say, oh, I've been indoctrinated into that. I've been programmed for that. And guess what? We can change it. Woo!
I know, it's so liberating when
It
you realize, hey, I have permission to do something that's not something everyone else is doing.
Yes, bravo. So, because of your expertise, what I wanted to find out is, what do you think are the false beliefs that stop business owners from thriving?
The biggest one, and to be honest, this is something that I myself experienced. So a lot of what I teach is what I've kind of learned along the way.
That's right.
Is really stepping into your power. And that's really scary because, especially as women, we have so many different roles to play that it's easy to get lost in who we are to other people. And then you forget, well, actually, who am I as a person? Who am I as a business owner? And for me, like, I live and breathe my business. So I'm my business is me. So I find it kind of easy. But I know for a lot of people, how they show up at work and in their business is quite different to how they are outside of work. So by fully kind of stepping into their power and their beliefs and their wants and desires, and knowing it's okay to have wants and desires. So I think the biggest kind of belief that people have is that they're not good enough, or they don't deserve it, or even, well, I haven't got what it takes. And all of that, I think, is total BS, because if you can just really peel back the layers and be honest with yourself about what you really want out of life, you then start to magnetize the right kind of people. So you're no longer having to push for sales. You're no longer having to create content on social media that doesn't feel in alignment, because you're just sharing you. And that's like where the magic happens.
I agree. And I can so relate, because as a business owner, you know, I feel like I'm doing my passion, which is wonderful. I feel like really empowered about that. And then there's still that little voice that comes in that goes, yeah, nobody really wants to hear what you have to say. Yeah, you're not saying anything new.
Why does that happen?
Tell me.
It's like, no, go away.
Correct. Yeah. So what I'm really getting the sense of is that when we work on shifting those beliefs, it really is a process, and it takes quite a while to, you know, just as when we were kids, you know, it was like, okay, left hand for the fork, right hand for the, and it took us like months and months to get that. And I think with the reprogramming, it's really similar in that, you know, those old tapes will still run until we interrupt them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I had it, and even up until a few years ago, actually probably until last year, I just had this feeling like this weight on my shoulders that I wasn't good enough. And I'd blame my parents. But since I've learned that as long as I accept myself and I'm good enough for me, that's all that matters. I still have the same conversation with my parents, but I'm receiving information back in a way that I can digest and appreciate. And it's like, but I've always been good enough for them.
Yes.
So this isn't anything new. They haven't all of a sudden like been awakened to a new way of dealing with me. It's no, everything came from within, and all those feelings I'd created myself.
Yes, it's our interpretation. I like to say human beings are meaning-making machines. I mean, you say yes, well, what do they really mean about that yes? Was that a yes because they really like me? Or was that and it's like, it's our interpretation of that. And from those interpretations, we then create these false beliefs.
I know. And it's just things like, because I've been around like life coaches and business coaches before, and the first thing they teach is there evidence? Is this the truth? But when you've lived it for so long, it feels like the truth.
Right. So what's the process? How do we shift those false beliefs and create new ones?
It's not an easy process. Like,
no, it's not.
I'm not going to lie and say, oh yeah, you can just drink a magic potion and it's all good. It does take work, and I truly believe that recognizing that there's a belief that no longer serves you is like the biggest step you can take. Once you realize that's not actually how I think or feel anymore, then you can start to look into changing that into something more positive. Like, I love working with people one-to-one. So for me, I always look for who can I work with, who can really kind of get me deep down and dirty so I can just completely cut this out of my life and work on building it up. There are so many incredible podcasts out there, like this one that we're recording today. There are so many like books and meditations and everything. And I think it's just being open to trying new things. And I've become more spiritual over the years, which even probably 5 years ago, I'd have been like, girl, what are you on about? Like, what is all this manifestation and abundance that you're on about? No, you just have to work hard and push. So I think there's elements of letting go and trusting the process, which are like two of the hardest things to do if you've been programmed to behave a certain way. But even now, even last week, I had to say to myself, stop trying to push things to happen. They're going to happen in the right time frame, and it always works. So whenever I can feel that resistance, I just have to say to myself, just step away, go and sit in the garden, have a cup of tea. At the minute, I am binge watching RuPaul's Drag Race, so I am a queen. If I could embody like an American drag queen, I'd be like all over it. So sometimes I'm like, just chill out, and it will happen. So I guess as far as a process goes, I don't think there's kind of like a cut and dry answer. I think you really just have to have that awareness of knowing that, yeah, do you know what? This isn't working for me anymore. I don't know why. I don't really know what I'm looking for, but it will come to me at the right time. And I'm one of these people, I'm a huge opportunist, and I know that people will come into my life when I need them without even realizing. Yes. So yeah, trust the process, let go, which in itself is a challenge, but it really does work.
No, it's the antithesis of how we've been trained. You've got to work, nose to the grindstone, always like being productive. And that's how we measure ourselves, against that rule, right? Yeah. And it's really interesting that when we kind of start shifting into realizing that there's something greater than us, and that the universe really is here to support us and to allow us to thrive, but that also means getting out of our way and allowing the universe to do it, right?
I know, it's like, hello.
Correct. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that.
So no, it's really eye-opening as well, and the things that you learn about yourself along the way. And another thing I will say is that I know people say you have to kind of get comfortable being uncomfortable, but it's almost recognizing that that ugly part of you can actually be really positive and help to fuel you forward. So I'm never one to shut out the darkness, because I think you do need some of that. You can't,
Absolutely.
you can't have the sun without the moon. You can't have rain without rain. The analogy. It's almost, you have to just embrace all of you and know that it's okay for you to be that person, but just know when to kind of lean on the good stuff and when to accelerate the dark for good.
Yes, I do understand. No, it does make sense, because it's in our labeling. See, that's the issue. It's in our labeling that something is negative or something is wrong or something is bad, that we start suppressing all of these things that are part of us that stops us from being our full self.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you talk about, that superpower, right?
Yeah.
All of that is part of being the magnificent beings that we are. Yeah.
Definitely.
What steps would you suggest to our viewers? Like if they find themselves, they're in business, they're feeling still passionate, but they're on this, like they're just stuck. For some reason, it's just not moving and they're getting really frustrated.
The biggest step, and again, I've just said it, and it's really hard, but it's just stop.
Stop!
Stop what you're doing. It's okay to walk away. And I think as well, when you run your own business, you're doing everything. So you're serving clients, you are doing your own accounts, you are having to create your own content, write your own website copy, put up your own social media posts, having your own sales calls. It's a lot.
Yes, it is.
And a lot of these skills we're not taught. So we're kind of learning on the go. We're not creating the success that maybe we thought would be easy because other people make it look that way. And that's when it can get frustrating and you can start to question, am I good enough? Is this actually what I want to do? It would be easier to go back to a job. But that passion, it burns away inside you so much that you know you can't.
Yes.
And for me, like, my self-belief is off the chart. So I am my biggest cheerleader, because I know I don't need a plan B, because plan A is always going to work.
Nice.
However much I have to kick and scream, however much I have to let it go, I just know that eventually it will be how I want it to be. And I think one of the biggest lessons that society teaches us is that everything has to be now. We have to rush and we have to push. And success is about wealth, and that success has to be a 6-figure coach, or that success has to be that I can work on a beach in Bali for 6 months of the year. And it's just like, if that's not your reality, don't get caught up in it. And if success to you is just being able to pay your bills and really love your work, that's huge success. Like, that's more than what people in corporate are doing, because they're waking up every day and doing a job that they don't really like, but there's stability.
Yes.
But as we've learned in this global pandemic, stability doesn't exist anymore.
It's a false reality.
It is, absolutely. So, I always kind of encourage people, whether they are kind of systems and process people, whether they're creative, artistic, just really follow your dreams. And I know that's a real kind of airy-fairy way of looking at it, but do you know what? We have one life, and that life should be joyful and pleasurable. And the only way it can be joyful and pleasurable is if we do the things that bring us joy.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it is really so powerful that we are the only ones that can give it to ourselves. There's no magic godmother out there that's going to go ding, there it is. You know, there's no man or woman that's going to rescue us. We're the ones who have to create that joy and that passion. And like you, it comes from me, it comes from doing the things that really, make me sing inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm learning right now as I do this business is releasing the myth of what success should look like.
That word should. We need to banish it.
I agree. So basically, I don't have 10,000 downloads. So what? I'm not successful. So it's these artificial measurements that we buy into that tells us that that's success. And if I focus on that, I'm 100% miserable.
And who wants that, really?
But if I'm focused on, I get to talk to Laura across the pond, really figuring out, how she helps businesses to thrive, and especially business women, I'd like to say that we're a new pioneer. It's like that women are saying we are empowered to have our own businesses and claim what is ours to do, to be empowered. And you're helping us to do that. What better juicier conversation could I have today?
It's true. And you know what? It's really liberating, because when you are just fully owning who you are and admitting, this is what I want and I want more and I deserve it, all of a sudden, opportunities come up all the time. I think as soon as you say yes to your yes, stuff pops in, and that's not fate. That's not, anything untoward. It's just what happens. So let it in.
Nice.
Welcome it with open arms. Enjoy the abundance, however that feels or looks to you.
Thank you. Yeah. Any last thoughts that we need to share or that we may not have covered about thriving in your business?
Anything we haven't covered? I would say the biggest thing is just go for it, because really, what is the worst that can happen? And if you don't try, you don't know. And if it doesn't work out, that's not failure, that's a lesson.
What? Are you saying I could fail and that's okay?
Yes! Because it's by making mistakes that we learn and we become better human beings and we become better business owners. And that's then when we turn our mess into our message. That's when other people are like, oh, I do that all the time. Yes, I want to hang out with her because she's me.
Yes, absolutely.
This is when business kind of becomes more about relationships and about really wanting to create impact and change, because there are so many cultural norms, societal norms, laws, rules that we're all following. That's not serving any of us. It's just making us resent everything.
Correct. And become neurotic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And it's just, things happen. And, don't get me wrong. I've built a career for 16 years by getting clients in the media. The media in general doesn't always purport the truth or facts, and it creates a lot of fear. So it's just really truly believing in what you want, what success looks like for you, and just enjoying the moment. Just focus on you. Stick in your lane is something that I've been saying a lot recently. It's like, just focus on you, because the outside world's going to behave in the way it's going to behave. You have no control over it. All you can do is just live the life that you want.
Yes. That's a powerful way to end this. Thank you. So, Laura, specifically, what do you do? How do you help clients? How do they get in contact with you? Why should they talk to you?
So they should come to me if this kind of chat has taught them anything. It's that I keep it real. I don't kind of fluff anything. I'm anti BS. So if someone comes to me and I genuinely don't think they're ready, we'll have an open and honest discussion. And I'll say, look, you maybe not be ready yet for like media coverage, but let's focus on these 3 to 5 steps that will help you to get there. I'm always open to a conversation because you never know where it's going to lead. You never know, who we know. And I just kind of work with, and it's mainly female entrepreneurs again, because I am one, I know all the other stuff that comes up when you run your own business.
Right.
So I'm like a cheerleader, and I love it the most when I work with clients on an intimate level, whether that's me kind of taking the work and kind of pitching them to the press, or if it's actually me working with them on a one-to-one basis and actually teaching them, you can do this yourself, because actually it's easy. You just need that process to follow. So for anyone, even if you're starting out, everybody has a really strong story that they can pitch to the press that will inspire so many other people.
Brilliant. And how do they get in contact with you, Laura?
The best place to go will be my website. That's where you can kind of find out a little bit more about me and how I work. So that is prwithperkes.com. Otherwise, Facebook is a great place. Like, I'm always kind of connecting and having conversations with people over Facebook and on Messenger. So I am always open to having a chat.
Thank you. So you've just had this juicy conversation with Laura Perkes, and we hope that you will take inspiration from this conversation and give yourself the joy of having your own business, doing what really matters to you, what makes your heart zing. You deserve it. We'll see you next time on Belief Busters. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of belief systems. I hope this gives you permission to change your beliefs and subsequently the world. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast and leave a review wherever you listen. You can reach me at info@preachitsister.com. I've also written a book, Turning Your Why into Why Not, that gives you practical resources and steps that you can take to continue on the journey of exploring what your belief systems are. I look forward to seeing you next time on Belief Busters Podcast. See you on the flip side.